Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley, and today we are here for Married to Medicine, Season 8, Episode 1. So let me just give you a little backstory about my relationship with this show. I have always been a very casual watcher of Married to Medicine, all right? I always looked at them as a wannabe housewives of Atlanta. I've never been too invested in any of the ladies of this cast, and I do not have a favorite at all. For me, it's pretty much like, well, I can't stand her, but in comparison to this one, I guess I sort of like her. So when I tell you that everybody on this cast is on the same playing field in regards to how much I like them, without further ado, let's jump right on into it because we don't have a minute to spare. So of course, because we are still in a global pandemic, we have to start off yet another reality TV show discussing the pandemic and the civil unrest. And we see Dr. Jackie saying that after their reunion, they all left New York with the greatest of intentions, but COVID hit. And then we also see clips of Toya at a protest with her two sons and saying how it's time for her to have the conversation about what is going on in America to her boys because they are getting to that age. I think her kids are like 9 and 10, but yeah, they are definitely at that age where they have to know and be informed about what's going on and how we have to conduct ourselves as Black people in society. So next, we fast forward to July of 2020, and we see Dr. Damon, which is Dr. Heavenly's husband. She's there, Dr. Jackie's there, Dr. Scott is there, and they're all doing COVID testing. And so we see them doing the drive-by COVID testings for everyone. And Dr. Heavenly is saying how she's just so proud of her husband for just making a difference in the community. So now we see Dr. Heavenly, Dr. Jackie, Dr. Scott, and Dr. Damon. They all sit down to take a little break, and they're all talking. And then Dr. Heavenly starts asking Dr. Jackie about Simone. Dr. Heavenly simply mentions how Simone isn't here. And she goes on to ask if Simone is still mad at Dr. Jackie. And Dr. Jackie admits that her and Simone are fractured, okay? They are not in a good place. And Heavenly goes on to say, so what are you going to do about Simone? And Jackie's like, look, girl, I don't know, all right? Like, I just don't know. So let me just give my 2 cents quickly. I have never liked Dr. Heavenly whatsoever. I have always found her to be very rude, judgmental, just very nasty, and she likes to use that she's just very blunt as an excuse to have no tact. I have always found Heavenly to be very crass and very just not a girl's girl. Like, she just seems like she's very envious of other women, because I remember when she was brought onto the cast and how she was being really rude to Jackie, and I've just never been able to connect to Heavenly at all. I've always found her to be very aggravating, to be very honest with you, and I don't know why, but I just get that impression that she's finding some enjoyment in the fact that Jackie and Simone are at a standstill in their friendship. Like, I feel like she's happy to now be Jackie's BFF. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's just always given me somebody who likes to sow seeds of discord, but likes to pretend like she's this peacemaker and this big Christian. And I know, Christians are not perfect, but she just has a very interesting spirit about her. That's what I'll say. I just found Heavenly to be very disingenuous asking the questions about Simone and Jackie and the state of their friendship. I didn't get a concerned friend. I got somebody who is finding pleasure from it and enjoys now being in the in crowd and being Jackie's go-to girl now. That's just me. Let me know down in the comments what y'all think. So now we see Dr. Simone in the next scene, and she's saying that the pandemic really forced her to slow down and just take inventory of her relationships and her life. And so she says that her friendship with Jackie is at a distance right now. So now we see her getting in her car and she's on her way home, and she pulls up to the driveway and her son is shooting some hoops. She lets us know that he's getting ready for college and he's really excited. So they're playing around, and Simone is being silly like she always is, and she's trying to guard him and get the ball from him. And we see in the confessional her and her son together, and he's saying that COVID really affected his senior year a lot because he missed out on prom, on a lot of the dances, just a lot of really cool things. And that's very upsetting for anybody. And my heart really goes out to all the kids in college, all the kids who are in their senior years. They really did miss out on a lot of fun and milestone events. So we see Simone asking her son if he's excited for college. He says he's excited for college, he's excited for all that freedom, but he is not excited for the racism. We find out that her son was offered a Division II scholarship to Lee University. And I think she said it was in Cleveland. But anyhow, it's a very small town and there's a lot of racism, a lot of Confederate flags. So I would be a little bit anxious, all right? I'd be like, no, we might have to send you to a different school, child. I don't know about all this. Her son expresses anxiousness in the confessional as well because he's like, coming from Atlanta where you're used to seeing well-to-do Black people and then going from that to, small town, majority white, racism, where they're not used to seeing Black people, that's going to be a lot of culture shock. So I'm just praying that her son has an enjoyable time, and if you have to, you can always transfer to another school, child, because I was kind of like, it's not too late for him to go somewhere else. I was getting nervous for him. So now we move on to the next scene with Toya, and she's with one of her sons. They are driving around their beautiful neighborhood in a golf cart, and she says that life before COVID was perfect. Her dream house, dream neighborhood, her and her neighbors would have a good time, and we see clips of them playing tennis and having mimosas in the driveway and just having a good old time. But she said, child, this COVID life just sucks. And I'm like, girl, who are you telling? I am so tired of all these reality shows showing us the beginning stages of COVID. We are officially a year into this mess, and it's these reminders, it's enough already. It feels like trauma porn. So then we see Eugene coming home, and he's changing out of his scrubs, and we see Toya just saying that Eugene gives everything to his job and his patients, and with COVID, it's really amped it up even more. But she says that when he comes home, he's damn near depleted. He's only giving her and the kids 15%. And I could really sense her frustration about that because it does seem like her and Eugene have the most solid marriage out of all the other ladies on the cast. They really do get along and like each other, despite all of Toya's nonsense and her visions of grandeur. They do seem like they mesh pretty well. Eugene comes on inside and he's like, okay, I need a glass of red immediately. She pours up a glass of wine and they go and they sit in their great room. Toya is like, the fact that we were supposed to be celebrating our anniversary in Italy, like, I'm just pissed. Eugene is like, hello, like, you think I'm not pissed about this too? Like, I'm livid. Like, yeah, like, we're all feeling the same things. Toya brings up again about how they get the scraps of Eugene and how she's just frustrated at the fact that they haven't been out on a date night in like weeks. And Eugene is just co-signing, like, yeah, I feel the same way. Like, I miss date night. I miss, going out and having fun. But COVID has really just changed a lot of stuff. And while I understood where Toya was coming from, I was kind of cracking up like, sis, you do know that it's not just you dealing with this pandemic. It's all of us in this country dealing with our lives being adjusted to this pandemic. You know that, right? Like, the same way your plans have been derailed, like, millions of other people's plans have been derailed as well. It's like Earth to Toya, Earth to Toya. The world does not revolve around you, dear, okay? Like, we're all feeling the effects of this as well. But I digress. So now we move on to the next scene, and we see Dr. Contessa and Dr. Scott. Their schedules are super hectic, especially during COVID, okay? They're just like, everything is just a mess. Like, trying to see our patients, handle our 3 kids, like, they just don't really have a lot of time. They are stretched thin. So then we see their kids are doing yoga, and we find out that the yoga teacher is Dr. Scott's niece, and she's staying with them for a few months, and her girlfriend is with them as well. And I was like, that is a blessing, because I know it has to be like, I don't want to say torture, but yeah, I'm going to say it. It must be torture having to entertain kids 24/7 during these times. And they all really like the fact that his niece has a very holistic approach to life. And she does seem very zen and very grounded and just very much at peace. So especially during these times, we all need as much peace as we can get. So her good vibes were like radiating through the screen, and I was like, okay, they really lucked out having her come to live with them for the time being to watch the kids. And the kids seem like they really enjoy having their cousin there. So next we see Dr. Jackie and Curtis. Curtis has just come back from the store and they're putting things away. He's letting Dr. Jackie know how when he was in the store, some people didn't have masks on. Just a mess. So she is letting us know that she is in love with their home. The renovations look great, okay? Her kitchen is gorgeous. And she says that she has her dream closet. And Jackie's closet was everything I needed and more, okay? Absolutely gorgeous. And then she even has a glam room to get ready. And I was like, oh, that's how you do it.
I love it.
I was in high school then, so don't blame me.
So now we see Dr. Jackie and Curtis sit down and they are discussing Dr. Damon's upcoming birthday party that Heavenly wants them all to attend. So Dr. Jackie's like, it should be fun, but I'm a little bit anxious and apprehensive because we already know that Simone is going to be there. Jackie makes a comparison that seeing Simone at this party is similar to bumping into an ex-boyfriend. And Curtis is like, what? So then Curtis says, well, have you reached out to her? Like, while you're waiting for her to reach out, maybe you need to pick up the phone and call her. I understood what Curtis was saying, but at the same token, I got where Dr. Jackie was coming from too. Like, it can't always be the same person being the bigger person. Like, sometimes I'm gonna need to see some effort from you too. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understood her sentiments about not wanting to call Simone because sometimes you feel like, well, why don't you call me? Like, show me that you care. And I feel like Dr. Jackie feels like it's always on her. And I get that. But at the same token, I feel like they're both being petty about it. So I feel like they're both waiting for each other and neither one of them wants to put their pride to the side and just pick up the phone. So I kind of don't see this friendship really progressing because neither one of them can just get out of their own heads to make things right. And also, I'm going to keep it real. I still have a grudge against Curtis for cheating on Jackie. I feel like she should have packed her bags and left him. I'm like, him? This man is 16 years older than her. He is not cute. He's just so like aggravating. There is no way that I would have taken his old behind back after cheating on me. Like, y'all know how I feel about that anyway. I just don't believe in giving second chances when it comes to infidelity. If you want to step out, that's cool, but I'm gonna be gone, okay? Bags are gonna be packed. Divorce papers are going to be filed. I don't play that.
Oh! Shout out to everybody. I had fun.
I gotta be good.
But again, that's just me and how I operate. To each his own, but just not me. It couldn't be the doll. So now we get to the next scene, and it is the day of Dr. Damon's 50th birthday party. Heavenly is excited. Everybody's setting everything up at her house. We see the chef putting out the crab legs and she has it like covered. And so Heavenly's like, why do you have the crab legs covered? And the chef is like, girl, because it's COVID, I want to keep them safe and fresh. And so she's just like, oh, well, that makes sense. And it was so funny because like when Heavenly was talking with the mask on, she had the mask like under her nose, and that drives me crazy when I see people with their masks like not covering their nose. It's like either wear the mask correctly or like stay inside. Just a little thing that like got on my nerves like in that little short scene, but I digress. So Heavenly is just saying that she's really excited for Dr. Damon's party and how he's a great husband, a great man, and how they've been married for 23 years. And she's like, you know, my sons look up to him. And she says, and isn't it crazy? Like, we have a 22-year-old son. And then she's like, you know, and don't do the math. I was like, Heavenly, you've already let the cat out the bag about how you were pregnant before you guys were married. So like, it doesn't take a genius to figure that out. But anyways, I digress. So next we see Toya, Eugene, Simone, Cecil, and Toya and Eugene's friends and neighbors, Dr. Kiran and his wife, Anila. And so they are on a party bus headed on over to Dr. Damon's 50th birthday party. They're all starting to take some shots of tequila. They want to get good and lit. So Toya goes on to ask Simone how she's doing with Heavenly. Simone is like, me and Heavenly are in a cool space. We're going because we really like Dr. Damon and we want to be supportive. So Toya then goes on to ask Simone how she's feeling about seeing Dr. Jackie at the party. And Simone is like, you know, I'm cool. I'm a grown-ass woman and I'm not chasing another woman. Like, that's that. I have always noticed that Simone has a very nasty side to her. And I feel like people don't discuss it enough. So next we see Dr. Jackie and Dr. Contessa. They are going to Dr. Damon's party and they're going together. So Dr. Contessa starts asking Dr. Jackie about Simone. And Dr. Jackie's like, you know what? I can't really even talk about it. Like, I get emotional every time I think about what's going on between me and Simone. And so Contessa goes on to say, like, you guys just need to make up and just, like, put this to bed. Contessa also goes on to say that Jackie and Simone are the glue that holds this whole friendship group together. And them being at odds with each other is affecting the dynamics of the whole entire group. Oh, and when Simone said on the party bus that she feels like Heavenly came in between them, I definitely agree. And like I said earlier, I have always found Heavenly to be like disingenuous, and I really feel like she is very happy that they're on the outs with each other. Like, I really think that Heavenly always desired to be Dr. Jackie's friend, and she was waiting in the wings for Jackie and Simone to fall out so she could swoop in and take Simone's spot. Just my opinion, but Heavenly, I see you, girl. I see you from a mile away. So everybody starts arriving to the party. Dr. Jackie and Dr. Contessa arrive first, and then we see Toya, Simone, Cecil, Eugene, and their two friends, Dr. Kieran and his wife Anila, they all show up as well. And Dr. Simone and Cecil, they came into the party in like such an awkward way. They're just like, hey, everybody, like, what's up? And like the awkward silence was just really weird. Like, I just felt so uncomfortable, like, just watching that. And if you know me, then you know that I hate getting secondhand embarrassment. Like, I don't care if I'm watching a movie, if I'm noticing somebody doing something embarrassing in real life, like, I get secondhand embarrassment, and it just like creeps me out. Like, I just hate that feeling of like feeling embarrassed. So anyhow, when Simone and Cecil got there, Dr. Jackie kind of like turned her body and like she puts her mask on, and Dr. Simone says in her confessional, like, I knew it, like, just how you always do. Of course you would be like immature and petty and like wouldn't give me anything. So then Dr. Jackie finally gets up and is like, hey, and it's just so awkward. And she's like, okay, girl, like, I'm gonna give you a hug, but I'm gonna have to give you a hug like at the side because of COVID. And then they start making that awkward small talk. You know how it is when you know that conversation that you make with somebody that you don't really like, or you're on the outs with, or things just got really rocky between you two, but you're not enemies, but you're not friends, that kind of small talk. So they're just painfully trying to smile through the awkwardness and the tension. And Toya comes in, interrupting them, talking about some crabs in a bucket. And so they're just like, woo, thank God for Toya and her being just as belligerent as she wants to be, because this conversation between us was painful. So the party's going, you know, people are having fun and talking. We see the husbands all gather around to talk, and they start talking about their experiences with the police. Dr. Damon says that he's had 2 incidents where a gun was pulled out on him and he did absolutely nothing. Then Cecil talks about an incident that happened to him when he was a teenager and how it's just awful, and how he feels like, yes, the media is paying attention to this right now, but what's going to happen when all of this dies down? Like, people are going to go back to not caring. So they're just having a good discussion. So we see the ladies gather around, they're sitting, and Toya is killing those crab legs, all right? And she is good and lit from all of that Patron. So we see Damon hand all the ladies face shields. So Toya is like, how am I gonna eat crab legs with a shield? Like, make it make sense. So of course, we already see that this conversation amongst the ladies is about to go downhill rather quickly. Heavenly goes on to ask Simone about why she hasn't heard from her. And Simone says, I'm not kissing ass. And I said, the minute she said that, it was like, okay, here we go. Let's put the gloves on because it's about to be a fight. So Toya starts getting belligerent, okay? That's the only word to describe it. And she starts hollering out about how they made up at the reunion. They were all on the floor, and she's calling them fake because she's just like, y'all made up allegedly, and now y'all are about to be at each other's throats. Like, what was that big makeup session for then if y'all are going to be at it again? So they're all getting a little bit annoyed with Toya interjecting and being loud. And they all point out the fact that Toya is drunk. And then we see that Toya had about like 8-9 shots of Patron. And so Heavenly says, Toya, not in my house. Don't do this in my house. So then Toya and Heavenly start going at it. When I tell you that those two have a very contentious relationship as well. Like, I feel like every season Toya and Heavenly go at it. Like, I've never seen a season with them just being on the up and up. Like, you know what I'm saying? I've never seen a season where Toya and Heavenly didn't get into it. So then Toya is still hollering, and then she says, well, put me out then, put me out then. And then she gets up and walks away. And that's where the episode ends. I was pretty entertained by this premiere episode. I'm looking forward to the rest of this season because I'm interested in seeing what is going to become of Jackie and Simone's friendship. And I'm also interested in seeing how Toya and Contessa do, because I know for the past 2 seasons they've been on the outs. And I'm also dying to see the drama now between Scott and Contessa, because we all know that her storyline is going to be he's cheating on her, or she thinks that he's cheating on her. So all around, it's about to be some mess. And I'm also interested in seeing the new woman on the cast who is Toya's friend and neighbor. I'm trying to see what she's about to bring. She's kind of giving me some Lisa Nicole vibes, and I could not stand Lisa Nicole. But that's another story for another day. But y'all already know what to do. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all later. Bye.